Hey, what's up everybody? Just real quick, I just put a video out, XRP and Bitcoin. I just want to go through this video real quick and discuss the bearish idea, right? So the previous video was the bullish idea. This is the bearish idea. Look at this pump, by the way. We got right back to this zone, exactly what we thought. And so we're gonna see if we get rejected here. I mean, it looks like we're already getting some resistance, but how does it correct? Does it correct if correctively, or does it reverse down impulsively? We'll find that out. It looks like we have a solid 1-2, right? And now instead of this being a third, or instead of this being a three-way move, it looks like a wave 3. So usually a three-way move will look like that. An impulse will look more like that, right? So then you would get something like that. And that's what we want to see. And if we get something like that, then we would flag out and continue higher. We have a shoulder, we have a head, we have a shoulder, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking here on the small time frame. So, but if things turn for the worse for whatever deep state black swan reason, then we got to be cautiously aware of the potential downside risk. So, and for me, that downside risk would be between 30. Well, I probably wouldn't say. Yeah, I would probably say about 31 to 40. I think it was 47. No, well, if it's so, there's two things, right? Number one, this could be or we have a W, we have an X, and now we're coming down for a Y. If we come down for a Y, we can hit 47K, and it could still be a fourth wave, right? It'll still be a fourth wave, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5. Now, if that's not the case, right, and we break below 47K, then we risk between, I say, 30 and 47, or actually, between that 31, 47K. And basically this is going to be the zone which you would call reaccumulation. So between this high and this high, right, you have basically this area in here in which would be reaccumulation. So we would have a rise, a crash, a retrace, and then this would break down. We would come up, we would test it as resistance, we would continue to go down. So instead of it being a WXY with a fifth wave, we would get that wave down, but then it would come up and it would test it as resistance, then continue down. And then we would probably trade sideways here for at least 6 months, probably. Between 3 to 6 months, or no, I would say between 6 months to 9 months, even up to a year, or even longer than that, perhaps. It really depends, but I think it would be fast. I don't think it would be a year. I think it would be more towards basically the end of 2025. So next Q4. So we're approaching Q4 now. I think we're already in Q4, right? Are we? Or September, October, November? No. Next month. So Q4 is the projection of when this fifth wave should break to the upside. Obviously, if we don't get the bullish idea and we reject up here, and that's why it pays to hit subscribe, because we're gonna be diving into this day by day, right? And trying to figure out what's happening here, because we're gonna get the clue before the big move happens. It's all about figuring it out before it happens, right? So we're gonna get the clue hopefully before it happens, and we'll definitely let you know, so we can position ourselves accordingly. Now, for a hodler, It's not about selling and buying back here. It's just about understanding that it would drop and we would just add more later on, right? So that's kind of the main bearish idea, which is, you know, coming down and filling in, I wouldn't say a gap, but basically back testing. You can see this open space right here. There's no structure there. So we might have to come in and fill it, right? And then continue higher. So that's the main bearish idea, but it's really not bearish. It's really not. Because yes, it's bearish in the meantime, in the short term, right? And even, you know, maybe it takes a little while, right? It might take another year from now. But ultimately, we would continue going up. And here's the thing. If we did come down, I would look at it as a potential 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Instead of this being the third, which means we would probably get a mega bull run. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we break out and we hit 5, we could probably hit between 80 to 100K, 125 max. But if we go down and we backtest 30 to 40K, between that, you know, 34 to 37K area, you know, basically somewhere in this zone, then I would see 100K getting, basically we could see way higher than that, maybe 150 to 200K, right? Because why? Because this, if we go up another wave, this whole thing is one wave. But if we come down, then now we have a counter wave here, and then we had another platform here. Basically, this would reset the oscillators, it would reset the momentum, it would wipe out the leverage, it would reset the market, and basically it would basically charge the batteries up for another explosive move. Because if we have a fifth wave, yes, it's a fifth wave, but it, you know, we would lose momentum because this is all one wave. So, you know, if we put it this way, if we don't break out, by the way, I think this is a fourth wave, and my main idea is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But for whatever reason that doesn't play out, because, you know, we don't know for sure if it's going to play out, right? We can only speculate based off the analysis. And the reason why I believe it will is because if you look, it looks like a bull flag. And it's in the same degree as a wave 2. And this is an impulse, and you can see we're correcting, right? That's a big difference than bottlenecking. Bottlenecking is where you come up, you drop down, and then you sort of do this bottleneck stuff, and then you drop even lower. This is coming straight up, and now we're flagging out. There's a big difference. I think someone asked in the comment section if are we bottlenecking right now? That's a good question, but no, this is actually, we're flagging out. Now, if it's bearish, it could be a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and we're about to drop, right? So, but here's the thing. This is the inflection point of what's going to happen. Something's got to give, right? So I think I heard somewhere today that this is the longest time in Bitcoin's history, basically from the cycle low, of it not going into expansion. So it's taking a lot longer than it normally does, which could be a good thing, right? Because that means we're overdue. But let me show you the daily here. So we got a bullish daily engulfing candle, looks pretty good. Like I said in the previous video, either this is a 3-wave move and this is a 3-wave move, and now we're about to have another 3-wave move, or potentially a 5-wave move. So it'd be 3, 3, 5, which means it would be an ABC or WXY, but essentially a 3-wave shape. And then from here, we could potentially get back to the top of this. And depending what happens, right, do we get rejected strongly in reverse? Do we flag out? I mean, there's a lot of questions up here, right? So whatever happens, happens. But the idea would be to break out, right? And this turned into some kind of diagonal or something, right? Something that takes us above the all-time high. Now, if this is, again, 3 down or 3 up, 3 down, and then we have 3 or 5 back up, and then we get rejected, this could just be a 3-wave move. So like an impulse, a 3-wave pullback, and a continuation. But the trick is, can we break this high? That'll be the trick, to see if we could break that high. If we break that high, then it's significantly increases the odds we can break to the upside. So the other idea is to say, okay, well, if this is 3, this could be an impulse to the downside, a 3-wave pullback, another impulse to the downside, and now we're getting another 3-wave pullback. So a 1, 2, 1, and then we would come up for 2, and then we would drop. We would get up here. This is a crash. You come up, you retrace it in a wave 2, and then you come down. And that's when we go into reaccumulation, and then we can break out at a later time. Okay? So that's kind of what we see. So those are the ideas. And again, the bullish idea is to say that either this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, flag out, go. Or this is a 1, and this is an expanded flat for 2, and now we're going in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Right? So we're going to figure this out. We're going to know, and I think it could happen. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen between now and the end of the year. I mean, definitely before the end of the year. I mean, the end of the year is way over here. So we have plenty of time. Right? And this thing could surprise the hell out of everybody, right? And have this mega third. We flag out and have a huge 5th wave. Brad Garlinghouse did say he predicts $5 trillion by the end of the year. I don't know. It kind of made sense back when we were over here, but now it doesn't feel like that anymore. And that's actually a good thing, right? It's not supposed to feel bullish, because if everybody felt bullish and it felt that way, then it's usually the opposite of what happens. If you look at the fear and greed index, we had last month fear, this week fear, last week fear, right? So there's a lot of fear in the market. That's what we want, because it needs to be the opposite of what people feel, right? What people are believing. Because if people believe a certain way and they position themselves a certain way, then you have too many people on one side of the trade, and then it goes in the opposite direction. So the more bearish looking, or I should say the more bearish sentiment, perhaps the better it could be, right? Because if a lot of people are expecting lower, we get higher. If a lot of people are expecting higher, we get lower. But it's going to boil down to what happens, I would say, between now and really the election. So right now it's too early to tell. But here's the thing. Is so long as we are in this downward channel, the statistical probability of breaking to the upside is higher than the downside. So I'll just put a line right there. And look at that. We bounced exactly off the bottom part of the channel, right? So resistance, 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 right? Support, 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 support. So as long as we're in this channel, everything is set in motion for higher prices. Okay, so if we get up here to the mean, right, and we get rejected, it could be a larger 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But we'll talk about that at a later time. But the main thing is breaking below this line here. If we break below this line and we close below it, right, and then let's say we come up, we come down, we get rejected in here, we can't get back above the channel, right? We break below the channel, we retest it, and we continue coming down. That would be the point to go short, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, this video is just to let you know that still anything's on the table relative to the bullish idea and the bearish idea. Now, if you ask me where I'm leaning towards the bullish idea, simply because this is an impulse and this is a corrective bullish channel here, right? We're flagging out. So typically when you have an impulse and you start flagging out, somehow, some way, eventually it breaks to the upside. Now, does that mean we have to go sideways for a little bit, drop to the downside, meander about? Well, whatever. The point is, so long as we're in this channel and we're respecting the boundaries, then everything is set in motion for a breakout to the upside. But the main thing I want to emphasize is if we do, because again, it's election year, the deep state, right? I mean, they're going to try everything they can to not let Trump in the White House. And if he wins, then they're going to, who knows what they're going to do? A cyber attack, or maybe it's, who knows, right? We just don't really know. So, but if something happens that causes the price, or maybe nothing happens, and the price still dumps. And it's like, well, what's going on? The Bitcoin's dumping, and there's no event or no narrative to fit the reason, right? So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But, you know, if this is going down, then this means that this is a three-wave retracement. A, B, C, right? And we broke the top here, and now we have a 1 2 1 2, and now we're going to come down, right, and obviously go into some kind of reaccumulation. And then what we would have is we would have 3 down, we have 3 up, and then we would get another 3 down, or even hopefully not 5, but a 3-wave move down, and it would be a WXY, a running flat. So boom, boom, boom. You can kind of see it there. And then a continuation to the upside. But again, if we do that, the upside move is going to be massive. So just to let you know that. And it would also be, look at the cup and handle. You have a big cup. We could come down for a big handle, right? I mean, we could be looking at, you know, $250,000+, right? Maybe even 300. Who knows? But if we break out now, I don't think we're going near that. Not even close. We'll probably maybe hit 85 to 100, maybe 125, but no more than that. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Now, if we do get the 5th wave, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then what? Right? Well, then we would probably have a much bigger correction here before continuing to break out, right? Something like that. A bear market, right? That would take a long time. Now, just real quick here on Theta, because I didn't touch on it today. Obviously, I think Theta is doing something what Ethereum did, which is this W-shaped pattern. Now, the question is the W finished? I recommend watching yesterday's video. I go into a lot of detail there, but I'm looking at Theta here, and even yesterday I was seeing this. It was looking very good, and it still looks okay. But I think it needs maybe a little bit of a pullback. You could see, here's your resistance. We had a beautiful inverse head and shoulders here, right? And then we broke out, and we haven't yet met the measured move, which is about $1.28. So we'll see if we can get there. But essentially we have this diagonal pattern, right? So this could be, let's see here, you know, like a 1 2 3 4 5 1 2, and then we have our actually A B C. So this is BR1, this is an A B C, so 2 would be over here, and now we're going into that third wave. I just don't think so. It's just too big. It doesn't seem proportional to me. So what makes more sense is that this is a three-wave move, and now we're doing some other type of three-wave move that can either break the low or go into reaccumulation, right? So it'd be a three-wave move like this, which means we would have another move to the upside, right? So let me show you on the 4-hour here. So we have 3 up, and then we would have 3 down, and then we would go up in 5 or 3, right? Something like that, which would get us a lot higher, and then that would turn into an ABC. And then from there, we would want to get back to $1.90 and sort of between $1.60 and $1.90, this gap right in here, or that little zone, right? And we need to have some volume or some trading volume in these price areas, right? Which then could lead to another push to the upside, right? Because for me, when I look at theta, I look at this wave and I think it's most likely finished. We could have one more wave to the downside, but I think it's ultimately finished, right? Because if this comes up and comes back down and we have another wave to the downside, then I'm looking at it like, we need a retracement. But even now, I think we need a retracement back up here. So that's what I'm thinking here. I think this is the sell side of the curve, and I think now we're bottoming out. So this could take some time. We can oscillate in here for a little while, develop a base, right, before we continue higher. Just like a little bit like how we did it down here. You can see the base down here. We sort of went sideways for a little bit. So I'm just kind of comparing that, but this is much, much bigger, right? So we'll see how it plays out. But for now, remember on the daily, we had a 9 buy on the daily chart, and that 9 buy is now activated because in 1 hour it's going to close below or above the red dot. So we have a green 2 going above a green 1, breaking above the red dots, right? Breaking above the 9 buy, sort of activating that buy signal. Now we don't know if it's going to be a buy, a sequential count to a 9. We don't know if it's going to be a bounce or a retracement, then more downside. All the 9 is saying is, look, we got some momentum here, but it's up to us to decide how that momentum will play. It's kind of like, the crappy, remember the cars that came out with autopilot or auto driving or whatever, and it kind of sucked. But you're still, it's giving you that auto driving, but you got to be in control, right? You got to make sure you know what you're doing. So, but anyway, probably a bad example, but if we look at the fib here, we just crossed the 382. So I'm looking at, maybe $1.23 to $1.33. Okay, and it doesn't mean today or tomorrow, right? We got 3 bullish candles right now, one after the other. So I would imagine maybe a little bit of consolidation, or maybe we flag out a little bit and we retest these red dots. But ultimately, let's get back to the 618 at about $1.30. and then we'll reevaluate. So so far, this looks like a nice wave 1. Let's see a wave 2, and let's get up here. If we get, probably have some bearish divergence forming here on the 4-hour. So on the 4-hour chart, we got some bearish divergence a little bit. You can see, let's see. Actually, yeah, from here to here, from here to here. So, but it's to be expected. But more than that, we have a 9. And we broke the 9. It wasn't a perfected one, but we have a doji here. So this is kind of where you would expect it to kind of pause out a little bit, I would imagine, right? So you can see maybe we come down. We have a shoulder, we have a head. Let's come down a little bit more and develop that shoulder, and then continue to break out, right? What we don't want to do is go below, if this is the high, we don't want to go back below $1, say $1.10, $1.09. We want to stay above that, right? If we start going back below $1.10 again relatively soon, that's not going to be good. So we want to stay above that $1.10 area. But other than that, I think one more, Matic, same thing, same exact thing, right? It looks a little bit weak right now. That looks like a pretty strong impulse. So if we come up in 3 and then start coming down, then we would break this low, and then that would probably be the low. CRV, you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got a wave 2. Is this some kind of flat pattern with more downside, like an A, B, C? That's still yet to be determined. Look at that. We have a 4-hour 9 sell. Look at this. We had a 4-hour 9 buy right here, and it printed these red dots, and then it broke above, it activated it, and now we're on a 9 sell. So that could be a good short opportunity for CRV. We'll see. It looks like a decent, at least for a pullback, So we'll see how that plays out. But there was one, I think it was Fetch, that looked really, really good. This looks beautiful. It's perfect. I wouldn't buy it now, but we have a 1, 2, 3, and a 4, and let's get 5. But if you look closely at the wave 4, what do you see? You see a beautiful A, B, C. You have that 3-wave shape. This is textbook right here. And this is the examples I love to share, because this proves, someone says, oh, charts are irrelevant, they don't work, and it doesn't matter, and charts are no, charts are everything, right? It's all about the person interpreting the chart, right? So if I interpret a chart and it's wrong, then it's my fault. It's not the chart's fault. It's the person who's interpreting it, right? So the chart is telling the truth. It's telling the facts. Now it's up to us to determine what that is, right? So anyways, but yeah, that looks like a nice 3-wave pullback. And now look at this. We have a big wave 1. I want to see a wave 2. And then let's get a wave 3, 4, and 5. And then what we would have is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we want to see it flagging out in here. Some kind of big ABC, and then another continuation to the upside. So, and then when we zoom out on Fetch, it looks pretty decent here. If we get back up here, we can see a shoulder, a head, another shoulder, right? So I want to see it get back to the retracement levels. I was looking at it yesterday too, and I wanted to buy. I can't remember what the price was, but I put an order. I don't think it got filled though. But let me. I'm gonna wait for this wave 2, and then we'll think about it. But yeah, I mean, I think it looks great. Remember, not financial advice. This could be wrong. What if it is wrong? What would be the count? Well, we would first of all have a 3-wave move to the upside. Boom, boom, boom. Right? And then we have 3 down. Maybe we get 3 up, and then we come down in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this whole thing becomes a bigger 3-wave move that comes down and back tests this area down in here. So you got to watch out for that too. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I want to see this curl back to the upside, just like how this did, right? And then you can see we have a shoulder, a head, a shoulder. That measured move approximately would be approximately about 270 or so, or I would just say back between 190 and 250, anywhere in that zone. So, but anyway, just wanted to come out and do another quick update. And if you can, watch the first video I put out if you're interested in XRP. So this is the video I put out. I mean, basically talking about this triangle here and much more. But yeah, it's looking really interesting here for XRP. So go check that video out. And anyways, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for listening. If you can, hit that like, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.